The fundamental problem of what's going on right here is that Joe Biden is so lockstep with Israel right now. That's really what aggravates Iran in all of this, and Russia.
I think that's the fundamental problem.
I think
or is that
he's
Iran
in
is
the
completely
region.
anti-Semitic and wants to wipe Israel off the face of the earth.
Well, of course.
And
no,
we're
I'm saying
behind
the problem,
October 7th.
Jessica Thurlow aired the Five's shocker, as always, by blowing a silly thought, for which she was immediately brought down to earth. Let's take a look at that.
I got to tell you, we are not looking for a war with Iran. I mean, Iran is sitting there and saying, we can do whatever we want to these people. Look, Joe Biden is terrified of escalation. He really is. He's proven it time and time again. He says, we will not tolerate it. We will respond, except for the 165 times that they hit us in Iraq and Syria, with many of our soldiers with traumatic brain injury, which is a lifelong injury. And then 2 weeks ago, Joe Biden's beating his chest and he says, Iran got the message. And that was a couple months after Sullivan says, you know, everything's quiet in the Middle East. I mean, we are clueless and feckless on the world stage. We've given Iran a pass because we don't want to get involved in World War III. And I think it was Mike Pompeo who said this morning, we may not be at war with Iran, but they're at war with us. And so we've got to try to thread this needle in a way where we recognize they attack us with impunity. We now have soldiers who are dead.
It's really quite deplorable. Biden has gotten America into wars. We have become hostages to this situation and constantly have to sponsor and support military actions. It's horrible.
They are not stupid. What they did with their drone, they followed an American drone that was returning home to Jordan, and they literally followed it, and the Americans didn't see it, and it killed 3 servicemen and injured 34 others. We've got American hostages being held by Hamas. We don't even know if they're dead or alive at this point. And the latest thing is Joe Biden says, today, it was wholly uncivilized. Give me a break. Right. Get in there and start fighting. And let me just say one more thing. What did Trump do? He killed Soleimani. What did Trump do? He enforced the sanctions. He is the person, if we look at the chart of where Iran was financially under Biden and what they are doing now under Trump and where they are now with Biden, it's very clear. They hurt when we bleed them financially, and what we allow them to do is to sell oil on the open market, give them $6 billion of money for the hostages. And today, Biden had nothing on his schedule. Nothing. Did he call the families? What did he do?
There's also, Jessica, when you look at that montage of what they've been saying, that Iran knows not to do anything, well, that has proven to not work. And also, when you look at the administration officials that spoke out today, Blinken, Austin, Biden, they all had to read the statements of condolences as if they don't feel it. And I'm not saying that they don't, but it's strange to me that the reaction is so subdued and in a way that where you have to read every word that you're sorry that it happened.
It's really true. Under Trump, we have not been involved in any wars. When Biden took office, we sponsored the nightmare that is happening today. We need to stop it, not sponsor it.
I think that they were genuinely surprised, which seems strange considering what has happened over the last few weeks. If you have 150 plus attacks, unfortunately, someone is bound to die from something like this. And I think that the response does need to be more heartfelt, even if in the most craven analysis of this, you're thinking back to the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was a seminal turning point in terms of how a lot of Americans felt about President Biden and the Biden administration, not necessarily the decision to leave Afghanistan, but how it was executed and the fact that we lost 13 service members. And people didn't feel that there was an adequate level of sorrow and appreciation for what they had sacrificed for us, and that maybe there was more that we could have done to ensure that we got out and that those people survived. So I think that that's something that needs to be done better. I would say it's Secretary Austin's first day back at work. He is recovering from a cancer, and reading the statement, but you would want more. In terms of the Biden administration financing them, the $6 billion has not transferred hands. It's being held by the U.S. and Qatari governments. You say that with Donald Trump, no one died. After he took out Soleimani, a few months later, in March of 2020, there was a rocket missile that hit an Iraqi base, and we lost 2 service members. And I don't know if you were critical of him then, but there was a direct response to him taking out a terrorist that no one disputes, and there was bipartisan congratulations for Donald Trump in terms of taking that action. So I just want to be fair about that and accurate about the money and the financing. And
I think sometimes you should turn off the microphone on stupid cows that talk nonsense and moo on camera. Jessica was not so smart this time. I think that comments are unnecessary, and it is worth listening to the presenters tear her to pieces for this.
What about selling oil on the open market?
But you said $6 billion, and
that was one of the things, just one.
Well,
let me get Jesse in. So this attack was scheduled to be right at dawn, pre-dawn, so at a sleeping barracks to make sure that there was maximum harm.
Yeah, whatever anti-drone defenses we have aren't good enough. Yeah. When you saw the map, there's a lot of U.S. service members on these bases throughout the region. And if we're just going to sit back and receive pot shots, that's not a strategy. You can't go out and say don't, and the Iranians do. You can't tell Putin don't, and he invades Ukraine. You can't tell the migrants don't come, and they come. The guy has no deterrence. He's not respected as a commander-in-chief. And people all across the world are just running through his red lines. Now, Kirby's out there saying we don't want to start a war with Iran. We don't want war in the Middle East. Neither do I. No one wants direct conflict. Of course not. But why are you acting like, oh, we don't want any trouble? Sometimes you have to use force in order to de-escalate. And so far, Joe Biden's done nothing. Now, the strategist I talked to said you could hit proxies. Maybe wouldn't do much. You could even hit the Iranians inside Iran. Okay. He said the main pressure point is Karg Island, which is their crude oil terminal right off their coast. Completely would wreck their economy. It would take about 1 million barrels of oil offline per day. And there's not even a bridge to the stupid island. So, it would take years for them to repair it. And then they would have no money to finance all of these little proxies. Now,
Jesse Waters expressed a clever point about daring to act. I believe that Trump was also not afraid to take bold actions, and that is why there were no new armed conflicts started under him. He has been a great president.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Lloyd Austin is back. I just wish Joe Biden was. I mean, when you saw him there, he acted like he was reading the early bird special at Denny's. That wasn't a show of strength. Even his life alert was blinking. It was bad. Remember how Trump was deemed an agent of chaos? 4 years of turmoil to be replaced by the calm, cool waters of Joe Biden. What a pyramid of feces we were sold by the media. We're now experiencing basically a nonstop tornado of incompetence and confusion, from Kabul to supply chains to the Middle East to Ukraine. How much more can we take? I mean, I agree. Trump's words, they made people uncomfortable. They made them nuts. But the world was kind of peaceful. And maybe there's something to be said for that there is peace through unpredictability. And saying we don't seek war, as Jesse says, that's an obvious statement.
Greg Gutfield emphasized that Jessica's words are complete nonsense that should not be listened to, much less heeded. She is not capable of delivering a rational soap to the viewer. Our president leads us from war to war and continues to pour billions of dollars to show himself strong and holy. Unfortunately, this stunt has failed, and he has simply turned into someone who stirs up the fire and adds fuel to the fire. What do you think about that? Write your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to watch other shocking news on the channel.